What role will the U.S. play in helping the new transition government? Joel Rubin previously served as State Department officer in Egypt. Joel, thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
So we heard Vice President Joe Biden have remarks a little bit earlier today, and he said, listen, $2 billion spent, not one loss of life, and the goal of removing this dictator, this autocrat, has happened.
Yes, and it really is a remarkable victory for the Libyan people today and the international community coming together over the past 8 months to stop serious bloodshed, a humanitarian crisis in the making, and to stop it in its tracks and to maintain the pressure and the unity to go after Qaddafi. It's also quite an impressive victory for the Obama administration and its policy going forward, clearly with the Secretary of State being in Tripoli yesterday and this past. She is making a commitment for next steps. The talk from the White House, from the president, implies directly that there's an expectation of a democratic transition, that is underway, and reconstruction as well.
We just had with us Bobby Ghosh of Time magazine, and he discussed the role the U.S. might play in this transition, and that you have an oil-rich country. It is not a poor country where you have to provide food and other aid of that like, but in Bobby's words, the U.S. would have to, if you will, hold the hand of this transition government to give them advice. What do you see as the U.S. role in this transition?
I do see that type of role for the U.S. The U.S. right now is very popular in Libya. It's a remarkable success story. And the Libyan people see the U.S. and the international community as having stood by them, on their side. Our ambassador is there. We have representation there, directly engaging with the Libyan government. The Transitional Authority, they do want Western help to rebuild their economy. They have significant oil reserves. They also have significant cash here in the United States deposited in our accounts that could be moved over to them, but they will need the technical advice because after 40 years of dictatorship, their oil fields are not in great shape.
What do you see as any possible, if there is any at this point, pushback or landmines that exist for the United States? There have been some early conversation, for example, over whether it matters if the NATO airstrike played a role in the capture and subsequent killing of Qaddafi, if this will at all have any impact on the U.S. I know you just mentioned that we're very popular in this country now in Libya as a result of the assistance provided in those airstrikes, but are there any landmines that might exist even with dealing with other Arab nations, other leaders, for example, the president of Syria, who very well might be frightened by the images that he is seeing, I'm sure?
Exactly. Right now we have three rules next to each other between Tunisia, Libya, and Egypt of leaders moving on in different ways. Mubarak himself took himself out of power peacefully, but now he's on trial. Qaddafi is dead. And from Tunisia, Ben Ali fled the country. The region is in turmoil. What the administration is doing is looking at this from a very case-by-case basis approach. They see Syria in a distinct lane, and it is going to be difficult. There are multiple landmines. The charge of inconsistency will be there, but it's impossible to have consistency between Egypt, Tunisia, Libya, and Syria, and Bahrain. These are different countries. But clearly the president's view of promoting democratic change, human rights, this argument that he is making consistently is taking hold. It is demonstrating that the U.S. has an overall view. How they implement it tactically in each country does have differences.
All right, Joel Rubin, former State Department officer in Egypt. Joel, thank you so much for your time and your insight. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any minute now, White House Press Secretary